And we're live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the live stream. We're going to break down this Monday night NBA DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Glad you're here. Looks like we got a few people filing in, so thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button if you enjoy the content. Make sure you ask any questions you have along the way, guys. As always, we're going to talk about DraftKings and FanDuel. DraftKings first, then we'll talk about FanDuel. If you have any questions, like I just said, please do ask them. I'll gladly help you out. The only thing I ask is that you tell me which site you're playing on and which format. If you say you're playing on DraftKings in tournaments or DraftKings in cash, etc., that will help me out to be able to, give you the most accurate answer possible. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Let's go game by game here. Talking about the first one. Minnesota taking on Cleveland is the first game on the slate. This game right now comes in right now with a 217.5 over-under. It's a 3-point spread in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves, so expected to stay close. Not exactly the fastest-paced game on the slate is the only thing, and we have a lot of really fast, up-paced games. As far as anyone that I'm looking to go to in this game, my favorite play by far, just at his price tag, well, there's a couple. I mean, D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards are the two that are really standing out to me. D'Angelo Russell's upside has been really tremendous as of late. On DraftKings, I just think this price tag is too cheap. Same can be said for Anthony Edwards at 7K and 7.2 respectively. They are grading out as two of the best upside at their price tags play for me on the slate tonight. D'Angelo Russell comes in at 7.2. He's putting up 1.15 DraftKings points per minute on the season. I've got him projected to play at 31 minutes. And then when you're looking at Anthony Edwards, he comes in putting up 1.09 DraftKings points per minute. I've got him projected to play 34. At both of their price tags, at both of their permanent production rates, they could just absolutely blow these price tags out of the water. The production hasn't been the greatest as of late, but you can't really let that get you down on a guy like Anthony Edwards, who we've seen go out there and put up, legitimately 70 FanDuel points at times. So, for me, I'm just going to keep going back to him. I know it's not the best game environment, but the price tag's there, the upside's there, everything's lining up. And I love D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards. They're my top two plays in this game for sure. Running it back on the other side. Well, my top play overall in this game is going to be Brandon Goodwin. He's a starting point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers, just based on his price tag. He's only 5'2". There's no Rajon Rondo. He's playing a lot of minutes. He played 38 minutes last time. Was a big letdown last time out, considering he played 38 minutes and he puts up 0.93 DraftKings points per minute on the season. But when you factor in that he puts up 0.93 DraftKings points per minute, I've got him projected to play 34 minutes out of a 5.2 price tag. He is going to be looking very good. And then you're going with some fillers like an Isaac Okoro, like a Chetty Osman at 4.4. Those would be the next guys that you're kind of looking to go to just based upon how many minutes they're playing. Chetty Osman has been good on a permanent basis this year. He put up 33 DraftKings points last time out. And you could play some Jared Allen and some Evan Mobley if you want to, some Lauri Markkanen. Just those guys... They're pretty negatively correlated, so I would only want to be playing one of those guys, most likely. I mean, Mobley and Jared Allen are priced reasonably enough to where you can go there. Just so many options on this slate tonight, man, that I think I'd much rather be going to. As we go along this slate here, there's some really fast up-tempo games. There's some game environments where some guys are going to be pretty high priorities for me, so for that reason, these guys look decent. But not as good as some other options on the slate. So Goat says FanDuel and small GPP best 3 plays to build around and cash build around plays. I will get to FanDuel, I promise you. So I will have that question ready for you as soon as we get there. So thank you for asking it, and I'll have that queued up and ready to go when we get over to FanDuel. Okay. Indiana taking on Orlando is the next game on the slate. This game has a huge total. It's a 233 over under. It's a 2.5 point spread in favor of the Orlando Magic. So going to be a great one, and there is indeed no Malcolm Brogdon in this one, which is immediately going to make some guards look really friendly on this team. Chris Duarte expected to come back now. He's been dealing with some injuries and has been out. He's listed as questionable, but he is more so probable, so expect Chris Duarte to climb back in the starting lineup. As far as the expected starting lineup, they're expected to go with Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Brissett, Jalen Smith, and Isaiah Jackson on this screen, but I don't know. I'm seeing reports that it could be Duarte, so just keep that in mind. And, that's a big piece of news. See who's starting, because Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson are both going to look like good plays, but Halliburton and Buddy Hield just have massive ceilings here, respectively. Like, those two guys I'm really going to want to be locking in on. Halliburton at 8.6, nice, friendly price tag now, coming down a little bit with Malcolm Brogdon being in last game, this guy definitely has 50-plus fantasy point upside in this game environment. Same can be said for Buddy Hield. So loading up on a ton of Indiana tonight makes a lot of sense to me. Definitely going to be a spot that I'm really looking to get a lot of exposure to. And you can be getting some exposure to OJ Brissett and Isaiah Jackson. All these guys are going to play a lot of minutes, and all these guys are pretty good fantasy point producers. So they're looking good for me on my projection model. Like, I'm just going to be loading up on a bunch of Indiana. Jalen Smith at 4.9. I've got him projected to play 25 minutes at that price tag. He does look pretty good for me at that price tag with his per minute production. He's putting up 1.08 DraftKings points per minute on the season. So, that's really, really good stuff. And then those other guys I talked about, O'Shea Brissett, Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, just getting a lot of exposure to these guys is the way to go tonight, I think, because the game environment's there, the minutes are there, the usage is there, and I just think this is a spot for some massive games to be had from the Indiana side. So specifically Halliburton and Buddy Hield, obviously, but I also think loading up on those other starters. And don't sleep on Chris Duarte either, coming back off an injury. Maybe people don't quite play him because they don't know what to expect. He's only 5'4". He's been producing at a pretty high rate on the season, and there's no Malcolm Brogdon, so he's going to get a big bump up. Not as much of a bump as a Halliburton and Hield, obviously, but he is going to be viable and someone that I would certainly be looking to go to. And then running it back on the other side with the Orlando Magic, as far as anyone I'm looking to go to on their side, just looking at who's grading out the best for me over here in my premium projections. I do have quite a bit of interest in Mo Bamba at 4.7 just based upon his price tag, but really it's Wendell Carter Jr. and Cole Anthony. They're both the most priced up on the Orlando Magic side for a good reason. And then if I have to go to anyone else, I think Jalen Suggs is the next guy. Jalen Suggs is priced very friendly, but the problem is Markelle Fultz is returning in this one, and he's going to play like right around 10 to 15 minutes or something, I think is the report. So the question is, who does that cut into? And I think it might be Suggs and Franz Wagner. Like, I think Cole Anthony still gets plenty of minutes. Wendell Carter still gets plenty of minutes. But those other guys, a little bit dicey. A little bit scared to be going to them. So that's kind of my approach in this one. Toronto taking on Brooklyn is the next game on the slate. Comes in with a 217 over-under, a 4-point spread in favor of the Toronto Raptors. There is not going to be Kyrie Irving in this one. So with him being out, obviously there's going to be some other guys that we're going to want to be taking a pretty heavy look to. And those guys, most notably, it's going to start with Seth Curry at a 5.9 price tag. I'm going to like him a lot. You could also be going to Patty Mills. I think Seth Curry is my favorite option on the Brooklyn side by a pretty wide margin, though. Patty Mills can have big upside games at times. He is very cheap, I will say. He is very cheap. He's just really scoring reliant. So is Seth Curry, but a little bit less so. Like, I think Seth Curry is going to be able to go out there and rack up some assists, kind of do it all. And quite frankly, I just think he has a bigger role on this team right now than a Patty Mills. Patty Mills at this stage of his career, kind of just a role veteran. So I like Seth Curry a lot with there being no Kyrie Irving. And then as far as anyone else I'm looking to this game, James Johnson continues to get a lot of run. He's only 4.1. On the season, he's putting up 0.77 DraftKings points per minute. I've got him projected to play 28 minutes at that price tag of 4.1. That's obviously going to make him look like a pretty friendly price, like a pretty friendly play. He played 35 minutes last time out. Similar to like the Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell that I just talked about. I mean, when the production's there and the minutes are there and he hasn't had a big game in quite some time, if other people are getting frustrated with that, I have no problems just going back to him over and over again. He's just going to have a big game eventually. And when he does, if everyone else is going to be off him, you certainly want to be the one on him. Scotty Barnes continues to be a phenomenal play on the Toronto side. He was my lock of the night last time out and was a complete bust, but that's because he got in some major foul trouble. He got in foul trouble early in that game. He only played 21 minutes. Got some serious foul trouble. The game ended up blowing out. So, for a guy that typically plays in the mid to upper 30s, playing 21 minutes, that's not gonna treat your lineups too well. But you can't really predict foul trouble, and that's what happened. So that was unfortunate. But this is a spot where you want to go right back to him. He's only 5,700. There continues to be no OG Anunoby. The usage is going to take a big step forward. He puts up 0.90 DraftKings points per minute on the season. That's really good stuff. So I want to continue to load up on Scotty Barnes for sure. And then, of course, the other Toronto guys are pretty obvious. It's Pascal Siakam and it's Fred VanVleet. Those three guys, and then it's Gary Trent Jr. as well. Gary Trent Jr. at only 6'2" does make a lot of sense to me. Hasn't had a big game in quite some time after going on that massive scoring streak. He is scoring reliant, but the upside's there. But, I mean, it's Siakam and Van Vliet, obviously. If there's no Van Vliet, then Gary Trent just becomes an even better play. He is listed as questionable, so keep your eyes on that. If Fred Van Vliet is ruled out, obviously the three of Siakam, Trent Jr., and Scotty Barnes just become that much better of plays. And they're going to be big priorities for you if there is no Van Vliet. So just keep your eyes on that news. Chicago taking on Miami is the next game on the slate. This game comes with a 222 over-under. It's a 4.5-point spread in favor of the Miami Heat. So expected to stay close. Expected to be a decently paced game, and definitely a good pace-up spot and good spot for the Miami Heat specifically. There is no Kyle Lowry, which is obviously, a pretty big deal. That's going to make Gabe Vincent one of the top value plays on the slate. As a matter of fact, he is the top value play on the slate for me in my projection model right now. He's priced at 3.6 over here on DraftKings. He puts up 0.80 DraftKings points per minute on the season. I've got him projected to play 35 minutes. That amount of minutes and that fantasy point production is going to look very good. So Gabe Vincent's the first guy you're certainly going to want to be getting a lot of exposure to on the Miami side. Tyler Hero at 6'3" is the next guy. Once again, upside at his price tag. Just looks really good. Put him on the thumbnail for this one for good reason. 44 DraftKings points, 35 DraftKings points. The price tag's still very friendly. You take Kyle Lowry out of the equation. Tyler Hero's upside is going to be massive. The price tag has not been adjusted accordingly. So Tyler Hero, great play. And then the other guys you want to be looking to are Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. They're the obvious candidates. They're priced up the highest, but just a great spot. You take Kyle Lowry out of the equation. Jimmy Butler immediately becomes a priority. Bam Adebayo becomes a priority. Tyler Hero becomes a priority. I think Gabe Vincent's a fantastic value play. And then you could be taking some chances on some other guys. Caleb Martin at 3.2 looks really good in my projection model as well. Just his price tag and the slight bump up in minutes is enough for me to want to get some exposure to him in tournaments. If for some reason there's other guys fall into foul trouble, he's listed as questionable, so just keep your eyes on that. But played 29 minutes last time out in a competitive game. So at 3.2, a guy that puts up 0.83 DraftKings points per minute, I've got him projected to play 20 minutes. That's going to be really good stuff. And then running it back on the other side with Chicago, it's pretty obvious. It's the big three. It's DeRozan, it's Levine, it's Vucevic. Vucevic is listed as questionable, but he is more so probable. These guys are negatively correlated. Zach LaVine continues to be my favorite, just based on the price tag. They continue to keep his price tag lower than a DeRozan, than a Vucevic, so it's making it a lot easier to get him in my lineups. I would prefer Vucevic and Zach LaVine. Once again, price tags. I think DeRozan goes out there and has a really good game. He's been very consistent. There's enough value to get you there. I just think these guys have a much better chance of just blowing their price tags out of the water, and that's kind of what you need in tournaments. You need some serious upside, 7x, 8x, 9x, 10x. In these large field tournaments, you really need your guys to outperform their price tags by a wide margin. So Zach LaVine is going to be my favorite play on the Chicago side. Other than that, there's no one else really that you want to be looking to. Javonte Green at 4K I think is somewhat interesting just because he's playing a lot of minutes. But his fantasy point production isn't exactly the greatest. He puts up 0.73 DraftKings points per minute, but he is playing around 30 minutes a game. I've got him projected to play 28. He's certainly worth getting some exposure to in your tournament lineups, but once again, not nearly as good of a play as some of these other guys we've talked about on the slate, like, a Gabe Vincent, for example. San Antonio Spurs taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. Going to be a fantastic game environment. If you watched my Prize Picks video earlier, you would have already heard, but these teams are two teams that are top 10 in pace. The San Antonio Spurs rank 4th overall in pace. The Memphis Grizzlies rank 8th overall in pace. And for that reason, obviously going to create a very fast, up-tempo game environment that we're going to really want to target. Game comes in with a 239 over-under. It's an 8.5-point spread in favor of the Memphis Grizzlies. And I'm going to want to be loading up on all the main usage guys on both sides. So who is that on the Spurs side? That's DeJounte Murray, Jakob Poeltl, and Keldon Johnson. And on the Memphis side, it's John Morant, it's Jaren Jackson, and it's Desmond Bane. You could throw Steven Adams in there as well. But really the big three on both sides I have a lot of interest in. Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, John Morant, all going to really dominate the usage as long as there's no Dylan Brooks. The only thing you have to worry about with Jaren Jackson is foul trouble. He does have a tendency of hacking, so if you want to pivot off Jaren Jackson and go to some other guys off the bench, go to maybe a Kyle Anderson off the bench at 3.8 or something like that. A Steven Adams. Kyle Anderson did step in and play 29 minutes last time because Jaren Jackson didn't get in foul trouble. So that's some of the pivots you can take in. And Brandon Clark being ruled out will be, another big piece. Obviously, that's going to create more run and more opportunity for a Kyle Anderson. So keep your eyes on that. But really, like I said, the big three just look phenomenal on both sides. Ja Morant, great play. His upside should be massive here. He's only 9.7. That's really not that expensive for a stud like Ja Morant. He's not up in the 10K range. I talked about, maybe not wanting to play DeMar DeRozan in the 10K range. Why would I not want to? Well, this is a perfect example. I'd much rather play Ja Morant at a little bit of a discount in a faster, up-tempo game environment and a great matchup. So I really like him. And then, like I said, on the other side, it's DeJounte Murray. It's Keldon Johnson, and it's Jakob Poeltl. Just load up on these guys. Feel really confident about it. The fantasy point per minute production's there. The pace is there. Everything looks really, really good on paper for this game to shoot out. So I'm definitely wanting to get a lot of exposure here to those pieces. Devin Vassal's getting a lot more minutes now as well on the San Antonio Spurs side. Certainly willing to go to him. I just feel really confident loading up. Doug McDermott's only 3.8. He can be a little bit of a versatile play, but once again, if there was ever a game environment where you really wanted to play him, he's listed as questionable. This could be it. If he's out, maybe you load up on some Josh Richardson at 3.6. He played 26 minutes last time. He's a pretty great fantasy point producer, so getting a lot of exposure to this game I think is a really smart move, and I certainly will be doing so tonight on both websites. And then obviously Lonnie Walker off the bench for the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, he was a much better play last time out because there was no DeJounte Murray, but he has been playing a lot of minutes off the bench, and he has been closing games at times off the bench as well for this team. So I think he's well worth the risk in tournaments. He's 4.5, good fantasy point producer. Put him in this game environment. Everything lines up for me to be targeting it there. Charlotte taking on Milwaukee's the next game, another fast up-tempo game. It's a 238 over-under, 10.5 point spread in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. Caleb Martin is expected to play, guys. That news just came through. Chris Duarte remains probable, and Lance Stevenson remains doubtful. So that's the latest news that just came through on the Twitter feed here. So just to keep you guys up to date with the injury news, Caleb Martin is expected to be a full go. We just talked about him being a pretty great play at only 3.2 on DraftKings, so he should be good to go here. Charlotte taking on Milwaukee, guys. So obviously Charlotte's one of the best teams we like to target all season long. Giannis Antetokounmpo immediately becomes a valid play here in a fast up-tempo spot. I think he's going to be, one of the top pay-up options if you can afford to get him in your lineups for sure in this one. The scariest thing is, does the game stay close? But even if it doesn't, the Milwaukee Bucks have a 124.25 implied team total. I tend to think Giannis is going to be a big part of that. One of the best fantasy point producers in the league, the best fantasy point producer on this slate tonight, putting up 1.75 DraftKings points per minute on the season. The only one that outproduces him on a permanent basis is Nikola Jokic, and Nikola Jokic isn't on this slate tonight. So obviously Giannis becomes a really great priority. You put him in this fast tempo matchup, you put him against a team that's really struggling defensively, and he's really going to pop. So Giannis is my top pay-up option. Looking at my projections right now, I do have him projected to score the most amount of fantasy points on this slate by a very wide margin. So he's also the most expensive on the slate by a pretty wide margin. So I will say that. That's obviously the caveat to playing him, but I think it's going to be worth the pay-up option. If you're not playing him, pivoting to a Drew Holiday, a Chris Middleton, a Bobby Portis is the way to go. I'm just hoping that they obviously have the bigger games, and Giannis kind of has an underwhelming game. So if you want to go that route, that's always a valid route to go. Game theories-wise, Bobby Portis looks good regardless. Is 6'9". Guy's a fantasy point per minute beast. The price tag's just not high enough. Chris Middleton at 7'6" looks really good, though. I will say over here on DraftKings specifically, 34 minutes, 1.15 DraftKings points per minute on the season. Bobby Portis is the next on my list to be targeting. So, and then Giannis. And Grayson Allen at 4.1 is another intriguing play. Obviously not in the same tier as these guys, but he is cheap enough to where if he does get hot from the field, he could get you there at this price tag. I'm going to project to play 25 minutes. Obviously, he's just a guy that's reliant on scoring, and he is streaky. So it is risky, but I just wanted to throw that out there. That is valid. Then when you're taking a look at the Charlotte side of things, they're really short-handed as of late. Their bench depth is not good, and Cody Martin's listed as questionable. So I think this is a spot where we'd be loading up on them, specifically Montrezl Harrell and Kelly Oubre off the bench if there is no Cody Martin. These guys are going to be forced into a lot of minutes. They're great fantasy point producers. They're going to need their production off the bench. Harrell's 6K, Kelly Oubre is 5'5". And if the game turns into a blowout, someone has to play. I tend to think these guys probably get more run than the other starters that have been playing and logging a lot more minutes than them. So, that game went up to overtime last time for the Charlotte Hornets. They might want to give some rest to a LaMelo Ball, a Terry Rozier if this game does get out of hand. So I think there's a bit of a safety and an upside to playing those type of guys. But if the game does stay close, Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, we know those three guys are really the main candidates that are really going to play a lot of minutes on top of PJ Washington and Mason Plumlee. But, the three guys are really the ones you want to be playing. Bridges, Rozier, Ball, just loading up on a ton of them. If the game stays close, I can pretty much guarantee all three of those guys have had massive games. Maybe a little bit of some Harrell and Oubre off the bench. Like I said, those guys do look really, really good at their price tags too. So they're probably my favorite options on the Charlotte side for upside at their price tags. Sacramento taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder is the last game we have to go over here. It's a 228 over-under, 5-point spread in favor of the Sacramento Kings. The Kings remain to be very simple to break down. It is De'Aaron Fox, it's Domantas Sabonis. The usage that these guys have taken on since this, forming of this new team has been ridiculous. These two guys in the pick and roll, these two guys getting all the usage, these two guys having by far the highest upside. We saw Domantas Sabonis get some serious foul trouble last time out, barely played any minutes in the first half. Ended up playing 33 minutes. He still put up 49 DraftKings points at a 9.4 price tag. His price tag's gone up 100, but, this is his former team, Oklahoma City Thunder, maybe a little bit of a revenge narrative. I don't really think it matters. I just think the price tag and the upside is really, really great right now, and I'm just playing him every single night. Sabonis just fits in. He's priced very friendly. He's in this 9K range, kind of similar to like a John Morant that we talked about, where we can fit him in our lineups. Jimmy Butler, there's a lot of really, really phenomenal plays in this upper range that just produce at really high rates. Jimmy Butler's 8.9, Domantas Sabonis is 9.5. So, paying up for Giannis may not necessarily be necessary on this slate tonight because there's just so many great options in this price range. These guys have 50, 60, 70 DraftKings points upside on any given night. So, loading up on Domantas Sabonis, loading up on De'Aaron Fox makes a lot of sense. And then running it back on the other side, there is no Josh Giddey, there is no Lou Dort. So, what does that mean? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, absolute smash play. 38 minutes and 35 minutes the last two times out. He's getting all the usage in the world. The scoring upside is going to be phenomenal, and he gets one of the best possible matchups you could ever ask for. Taking on a Sacramento squad that ranks right now 29th in the league, second to last in points per possession rank, 28th in offensive rebounding percentage, 24th in half-court percentage of plays, 30th in putbacks. They're really not good at anything defensively, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is just going to smash here. So he's definitely a big priority for me in my lineups. And then the secondary options of Darius Bazley, Trey Mann, Isaiah Roby all become great options as well. It's really Darius Bazley and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that you're going to want to be loading up on for sure. They're option 1A and 1B. But when you're looking at some of these other guys on the Oklahoma City side, I don't mind going to an Isaiah Roby, who I have projected to play 26 minutes right now, who puts up 0.98 DraftKings points per minute on the season. That's really good stuff at a 4.6 price tag in a really great matchup here. He's probably not going to get that much ownership. He put up 30.25 DraftKings points last time out in 28 minutes. This is a guy that can go out there and put up literally 50. We saw him go out there and put up 43 DraftKings points in a fast up-tempo game environment against those San Antonio Spurs we were talking about earlier in the breakdown, where they're one of the fastest-paced teams in the league. So playing these guys makes a lot of sense in my tournament lineups for sure. I just talked about a lot of them, and those would be the main priorities for me on this slate tonight. Jeremy Lamb on the Sacramento side as well at 3.8, I do think is pretty intriguing, I will say. There's been no Terrence Davis. Jeremy Lamb starting to cut out a bit of a role in this squad. He's played 20, 29, 31 minutes. I've got him projected to play 22 minutes right now. 0.91 DraftKings points per minute. That looks really, really good to me. And he's a guy that I certainly would be wanting to get some exposure to on this slate tonight, guys. So that's the DraftKings breakdown. If you have any questions for the DraftKings slate, I'm going to talk about FanDuel, but I'm still going to be talking about the overall slate. I will gladly answer them. We got 22 people in here, only 9 likes, guys. I would really greatly appreciate it if you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell if you haven't already. And if you haven't signed up for the sponsor of the program, Prize Picks, I would highly recommend that you do so. You can sign up using the promo code KJK DFS, so you'll receive an instant match deposit up to $100 when you do so today, guys. So let's switch over to FanDuel. I know we had a FanDuel question earlier in the program, so we can address that right away. GOAT has been patiently waiting. FanDuel and small GPP, best 3 plays to build around. All right, so best 3 plays to build around on FanDuel. Small GPP and... Okay, so we're kind of looking for just really solid plays. Scotty Barnes would be my first one at 5,700. This price tag is just really too cheap. There continues to be no OG on a newbie. It's just really easy to be getting a lot of exposure to Scotty Barnes, especially if there's no Fred VanVleet. He becomes an even better play. But regardless, I really do like him at 5,700. He puts up 0.90 FanDuel points per minute. We know the Toronto Raptors rotation is really solid. They're constantly giving their starters a lot of minutes, so we know the minutes are going to be there. We know the production is going to be there, and we know the price tag's there. He put up 11 FanDuel points last time out. For those of you that are just tuning in or may not have known, it's because he got in some massive foul trouble. And then that game ended up turning to a blowout. So, they were sitting him because of the foul trouble. Then it turned into a blowout, so they didn't even put him back in the game. He was my lock of the night that night, so that really stunk. But the fact of the matter remains is his price tag still doesn't come up. The production's there. The minutes are there. Everything's lining up for him to be a really great play on this slate tonight. Pick number 2 for me would be Tyler Hero at 6,100. We already talked about it, but there is no Kyle Lowry in this one. Tyler Hero's really friendly priced on both websites. He's 6'1". You take Kyle Lowry to the equation. His usage goes way up. His price tag's too low. He's putting up 0.96 FanDuel points per minute, and I've got him projected to play 32 minutes in this one and a 4.5 point spread game against Chicago, 2 of the top teams in the East. Big game tonight for him. And once again, the price tag, the injuries and everything being out, he would be my number 2 building block if I had to give you, 3 cash game lineup building blocks. And number 3 for me, probably, it's tough. Number 3 is going to be kind of tough. Honestly, on a site like FanDuel, I think I have to go with his teammate, though, in Jimmy Butler. I think I have to go with these 2 guys. I mean, Jimmy Butler at 8.9 is just a really great play over here on FanDuel. There's no Kyle Lowry. This is a really cheap price tag. He's taking on his former team in Chicago. You get a little bit of a revenge narrative, I suppose. He's put up 33 and 38 FanDuel points his last 2 times out. Let's just say I am anticipating a lot more than that out of Jimmy Butler tonight. I think this guy goes out there and puts up 50-plus FanDuel points today. I think he puts up 50-plus DraftKings points. I think Jimmy Butler has a really good game. So those would be my 3 building blocks to answer your question, GOAT. So hopefully that helps you out. Chica says, lock of the night. Gots to love it. Y'all smash that like button for him. Gives you nothing but fire information. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, if I had to pick a lock of the night, it would be Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is really cheap on both websites. I just talked about it. There's no Kyle Lowry. He's in a phenomenal spot. So, I didn't have my official lock of the night because I wasn't able to produce a video earlier. I can only do so much. I'm trying to do 2 prize picks videos a day now. I'm trying to do these live streams. I'm updating my premium content, my spreadsheets for both prize picks and DraftKings and FanDuel. It's a one-man show here. So with all that being said, it would be greatly appreciated if you hit the like button. It really helps me out. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is a great play. He'd probably be my lock of the night if I made the video earlier. And he'd be my lock of the night, and he's the guy that I would suggest that you go with for my lock of the night. I love Tyler Hero, so he'd be my top play. But yeah, other guys on FanDuel, we talked about John Morant. His price tag at 10-1, but this is just a really fast, up-paced game environment. John Morant, DeJounte Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Halliburton. All these guys just phenomenal pay-up options. You could play all 4 of them. They do have point guard and shoot guard eligibility. Of course, salary cap's going to become a little bit of a question. Gabe Vincent looks like a fantastic value play over here. He's only 3.9. Getting the starting point guard responsibilities tonight with there being no Kyle Lowry. It's a little bit dicey because you can only play 2 point guards on FanDuel. If he goes out there and has a mediocre performance, you're not going to be happy with it. But I do have him projected to play 35 minutes. He puts up 0.78 FanDuel points per minute. Does grade out as my top value play. Anthony Edwards at 7K just continues to look really, really good for me. I already talked about him and D'Angelo Russell on the DraftKings side of things. D'Angelo Russell over here on FanDuel is priced at 7.3. Anthony Edwards at 7K. Very similar to the price tags over there on DraftKings. Once again, I know the big upside games haven't been there as of late, but it's just a matter of time, man. It's just a matter of time. And if you're going to be able to get Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell low owned at like a 7K price tag, I am all for it, man. I'm all for it. It was only a 217.5 over-under. It's not the best game environment. Maybe that makes their ownership even lower. I mean, these guys both have 50-plus fantasy point upside, and they're only like 7K. And that's a price tag I want to be jumping on. Desmond Bane's a guy that I want to talk about on both websites as well. I don't know if I brought his name up, but he does look pretty good on both websites. He's really cheap. He's only 6K over here on FanDuel. As long as there is no Dylan Brooks, his usage will continue to be there. He's playing a lot of minutes. There are some guys that are cutting into his usage a little bit off the bench. I think there are times where if he doesn't get quite hot enough in the field, the coaching staff's willing to kind of roll out some other plays in the secondary options. So that's a little bit of a risk, but I still like him. Cole Anthony continues to be one of those guys on FanDuel. They just refuse to price up. There's a few guys that have been like that all season long on FanDuel, and Cole Anthony is one of those guys. It's a huge total. He's only 6'1". He's projected to play right around 30 minutes. He puts up 1.03 FanDuel points per minute. His team's projected to score 117.5 points. That's too cheap. 6'1's too cheap for a guy like that. It just makes it really easy to be putting him in your lineups. You know, it's that simple. It's really not difficult. Just put him in your lineups. Jimmy Butler, we already talked about. That's 8-6. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. on the Memphis side. I talked about it. That game's one of the biggest fast up-tempo game environments. Bobby Portis at 6'8 on the Charlotte side. We already talked about him as well for Milwaukee. He's continuing to be priced. He's one of those guys, once again, on FanDuel. They just don't price him up. So 6'8 for a guy that puts up 1.09 FanDuel points per minute on the season and is projected to play 31 minutes for me. He's seen all the way up to 36. In this type of a game environment against a Charlotte Hornets team with a 238 over-under, looks very, very good. So I like Bobby Portis a lot. D'Angelo Russell, I like a lot at 7'3". We already talked about him. Montrezl Harrell is a guy that actually looks surprisingly decent to me at 7'1". His price tag has come up. I'd feel a lot better about him if there's no Cody Martin in this one. I know they're not, Cody Martin. I know they're not the same position, but that's just going to open up minutes for a Charlotte team that's really short-handed. I think he could become an interesting tournament option. I think he's overpriced right now with Martin being ruled in, if he is. But if Martin's ruled out, I mean, I already kind of touched on it, but the Charlotte Hornets are running out of guys to play off the bench. Look at their depth. They have Harrell, Oubre, Martin, Thor, and Kai Jones. So if there is no Cody Martin, those minutes are just naturally going to have to funnel to Montrezl Harrell and Kelly Oubre. And I do think they become pretty great tournament options. So I do like going to them a lot on this slate tonight. Zach LaVine, another guy that I talk about all the time on FanDuel because FanDuel just doesn't price him up. You know, there's a couple. I've already touched on a lot of these guys, but you know, what am I going to say? Buddy Hield at 7'6" is a phenomenal play. I know I already touched on him on DraftKings, but him and Halliburton are going to have a lot of usage, a lot of minutes with there being no Malcolm Brogdon tonight. So obviously, you know, he's going to be looking very, very good. Fred VanVleet, the latest news is that he is unlikely to play tonight. But this is exactly what happened last time, and he ended up playing. So Underdog tweeted out unlikely to play per Coach Nurse, but we've seen this story before. We'll update. Yeah, exactly. I mean, last time they said he was unlikely to play, and he played. So I'm just going to assume that he's actually unlikely to play. He's been dealing with a knee injury. You would tend to think like he's probably going to need to sit out. He's continuously listed as questionable. I don't think he's doing too hot. So Fred VanVleet being out, that's going to make Scotty Barnes an even greater play. We already talked about him, but also Pascal Siakam at 9-1 over here on FanDuel and on DraftKings will become a much better play, and you're also going to be taking a much harder look to a Trent Jr. I mean, Gary Trent just becomes a really, really great play now because he's going to be taking over the point guard responsibilities, so he'll have a lot more assist upside, a lot more scoring upside, a lot more on-ball handling responsibilities. If there is no Fred VanVleet in this one, Gary Trent just becomes a really, really solid play here, so keep your eyes on that news for sure. Keith says, Gabe Vincent, Chalk City. Yeah, exactly. If you want to fade him, I wouldn't blame you. There's a lot of other good options in the slate. Patrick says, appreciate all the work you do to help us. Yes, sir. No problem. HG Dub says, I'd say Buddy Hield and Keldon Johnson are good plays for over points tonight. I agree. Butler assists with Lowry out. Yeah. I don't hate the Butler assists. I don't hate it whatsoever. I think Butler has a big game tonight. Halliburton assist as well. Yep, I don't hate that. If you guys want to go with that, don't hate it. So, 26 people in here, guys. 17 likes. If we get that up to 26, preferably with everyone in here. If you hit that like button, that would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. And we are at the question portion of the program. So this is where I just want to open the floor for questions. Any questions you guys have on DraftKings, FanDuel, please do ask them. I'll gladly help you out. And if you haven't signed up for the premium content package, you can do so over here on Patreon. I know a lot of people are waiting until tomorrow because it's the first of the month, so they want to, not get charged twice, which is obviously understandable. I've had people in the past, they just don't care. They want access to the picks right away. And that's understandable. So I feel like Trent might be priced too accurately on FanDuel. I like Barnes' upside more, B says. I mean, Trent's priced accurately right now with Fred VanVleet in. But if you take Fred VanVleet out at 6'9", I mean, he becomes someone that's not really priced appropriately. He's definitely priced more appropriately than Scotty Barnes, I'll tell you that much. So I agree there. I mean, Scotty Barnes is a smash play, but he becomes much better. Goat says, have you answered my question? Yes, I did, Goat. If you didn't hear it, let me know in the chat, and I can repeat it. But I did answer your question. So I don't know if you took a break from the stream or what happened, but I did answer it. But if you didn't hear it, let me know and I'll answer it again. Tat My Life says, SGA or Murray? Tat, I know you play on FanDuel. That's a tough question, my friend. They're both really good plays. 9-6 and 9-7 respectively. I don't know, man. That's tough. I think you gotta go with SGA just based upon the fact that there's no Josh Giddey and no Lou Dort. But I do have DeJounte Murray grading out as a better play in my projection model, so always got to lean with the projection. So I go DeJounte Murray, final answer. But yeah. Fresh says, best point per dollar center on FanDuel. Best point per dollar play on FanDuel. Let's see. Best point per dollar center. I have two. They're tied. I have Andre Drummond and Mo Bamba tied right now. Mo Bamba's 4.5. Andre Drummond's 6.6. Those would be my top two point per dollar plays. If I had to pick, Andre Drummond, I've got him projected to play 27 minutes, 1.33 FanDuel points per minute. That's really, really good. And then Mo Bamba is a little bit more versatile in his minutes, but he's only 4.5. He puts up 1.06 FanDuel points per minute. I've got him projected to play 21 minutes. So Andre Drummond would be my final answer there. Goat says, can you repeat it? Yeah, man. All right, so you asked for the top three plays. My top three cash game plays over here would be Scotty Barnes, number one. Scotty Barnes is priced at 5,700 on FanDuel. He's going to be a really great play, especially if there is no Fred VanVleet. This is just too cheap of a price tag, so he's the first guy that I would be looking to lock in my lineups for sure. Second on the list, I have Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is priced at 6'1". There's no Kyle Lowry. He's going to get a big bump up in his usage. And the third guy that I had mentioned was Jimmy Butler. Same thing for Jimmy Butler. There is no Kyle Lowry. Big bump up in his usage. The price tag's just really, really cheap on FanDuel. Like, they're making it really easy on you to want to play Jimmy Butler, a guy that legitimately has like 60 fantasy point upside. And he's only priced at 8.6. I mean, we've seen him put up 77. So obviously he has a lot more than 60 point upside. Now this game he played 52 minutes, so take that with a grain of salt. But this game right here he put up 57. He only played 37 minutes. So Jimmy Butler has massive upside at that price tag. It's just too cheap. I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a lot. I like Tyrese Haliburton a lot. I mean, there's a lot of really, really phenomenal plays tonight. So if I had to pick three, though, those would be it. Keith says, FanDuel user, fading Giannis and cash for Sabonis, SGA, and Fox. Thoughts? Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. You're getting a very good, solid, rounded-out lineup of guys that have a lot of usage and are playing lots of minutes. So yes, I think that is perfectly reasonable. I love Sabonis. I love SGA. Fox, I'm not quite as high on FanDuel. He's just really scoring reliant. His peripheral stats aren't really that great. I try to rely on guys that are a little bit more better in their peripheral stats. But still a really good play. Still a really good play for sure. I mean, he's put up 47, 54 FanDuel points in two of his last three. The time before, 29 FanDuel points. That's kind of what I worry about in cash games, that 29, whereas I think there's some other guys that might kind of be more of a lock to get you that 40, but still a great play, man. He really is. So okay, so if we got anything going on Twitter, we got some Wolves starting lineup is Russell, Beverly, Edwards, Vanderbilt, Towns. Chris Duarte will play. Lance Stevenson's ruled out. So nothing really too new here. Goran Dragic expected to see similar minutes on Monday that he saw last time. So how many minutes did Goran Dragic see? Goran Dragic taking on his former team in Toronto. Last time out, he played 14 minutes. So, yeah, 15 minutes or so for Goran Dragic. Obviously, that's going to make him not really that viable of a play. So, don't really want to be going to him too much in tournaments. And, yeah, guys. I mean, that's kind of where my head's at. I'm going to be updating my projections and my core plays for you premium content members. And if you have any questions, please do ask them. Like I said, this is the question portion of the program, guys. So I've already kind of cruised along on the DraftKings breakdown, the FanDuel breakdown. So now we're just kind of hanging out, looking for injury news and answering all your questions. So I love it when you ask questions. I love the interaction. When the questions stop coming through, the stream gets pretty boring. So don't be shy. Feel free to ask those questions. I know you got to be a subscriber to ask the questions, because why wouldn't you be a subscriber? Come on, man. Putting out content every day. We've got two Prize Picks video going out today. We got this live stream now. So lots of information. So if you have any questions or if you missed out on some videos earlier, feel free to ask. We got 29 people in here, 18 likes, guys. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and please ask any questions. If you don't have any questions, I can log off. Precious Achiawa. Thoughts on Precious Achiawa? Patrick, I think he had a pretty good game for you the other night. I know he looked really good on my projection model the other night, and I think you played him at like 1% ownership. So correct me if I'm wrong. I saw that. I saw your lineup in the Discord chat, so congratulations on that. That was a good night for you. But that game he played 30 minutes because Scotty Barnes got in foul trouble, so you kind of ran into a little bit of luck as far as that's concerned, and he was priced much more reasonably, I believe, on that slate, so I don't think he's as much of a priority for me on the slate tonight. I think that Chris Boucher looks somewhat decent at 4-1 on the Toronto side, but other than that, those secondary guys, I'm not too high on, man. I mean, I'm just looking to load up on Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and Gary Trent. That's really kind of my approach with the Toronto Raptors. But, yeah. Yeah, I did get lucky. Yeah, I mean, you got lucky, but you also, I mean, you made a solid play. I mean, I was pretty high on Achiawa that night, just from a price tag aspect, and he's still going to play a decent amount of minutes, and then you ran into some foul trouble with Scotty Barnes, so he got even more. So, you know, call it luck, but I mean, that's calculated luck, and that's kind of what that's what being a premium content member and having those projections will do for you, man. When you see the multiplier metric and he's looking good, I know I think that's what your thought process was, if I remember correctly. You know, load up on him with the multiplier, the high multiplier metric, and if he runs into something like that, fantastic. Yeah, guys. I don't know. I think this slate's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's some really just great games. The Miami Heat are obviously dealing with some injuries and guys being out. The Indiana Pacers are dealing with some guys being out that are going to give them some bumps up. It sounds like we could be dealing with some Fred VanVleet's injury, which would make Toronto look even better here. My favorite game on the slate by far is the San Antonio Spurs and Memphis Grizzlies. You probably heard me talk about it earlier if you've been watching my Prize Picks content, but two top 10 teams in the league in pace. The San Antonio Spurs are 4th overall in pace. The Memphis Grizzlies are 8th overall in pace. Just a massive total. High usage guys with lots of upside. DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl, John Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson. Just a phenomenal game environment. Just a really, really great game environment. And I want to get a lot of exposure to it, but that's not the only great game environment. The Magic Pacers, the Bulls Miami Heat, the Hornets Bucks is probably the scariest from the blowout, but the Thunder Kings is definitely looking good as well. So this should be a really high scoring slate tonight. It should be a fun one, but I think it's definitely going to be very high scoring. So buckle up for that, man. Buckle up. Patrick says Jakob Poeltl on both sites. Yes, I do like Jakob Poeltl on both websites. Yep. So you should be good to go. We'll roll out some Jakob Poeltl tonight. But All right, guys, I'm probably going to wrap things up here. It looks like the questions are dying down, so I'm going to bounce out of here. Thank you so much for tuning into the live stream. Thank you to everyone that hit the like button. If you haven't, would be greatly appreciated if you do on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell while you're at it. And that way you won't miss any future content that I upload. So I'm going to head on over and update the core plays and the projections right now for my premium content members. Answer any questions in the chat. For my prize picks members, my final picks will be going up as well. I know I have some cores posted right now, but based upon the injury news and everything that's coming out, I'm going to have some new core picks going up, so keep your eyes on that. And thank you to Prize Picks for being the sponsor of the stream. Use that promo code KJK DFS to receive an instant match deposit up to $100. 100% instant match deposit when you deposit over there on Prize Picks, guys. So sign up, check them out. Thank you for tuning into the live stream. Wishing you guys all the best of luck on this slate tonight, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.